G'day everyone, I'm the Red Scar and this is Red Scar Gaming. Today's my summary of my Boros Assembly Worker Tribal draft that I did for Brothers War recently. I ultimately won 7 games, lost 1, so yeah, it must have done pretty well. The only aspect of that I'm unhappy with, if that's the word to use, is that because I did so well, I don't really have anything in particular that I'm like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have got rid of that, that was terrible. But yeah, let's go through each card and see how it went. Deadly Riposte is probably one of the few cards that I didn't actually get to use very effectively. I'm sure in hindsight there's a situation that maybe I should have played it, but I didn't draw it that often anyway, so it's still a good card though. Powerstone Engineer I didn't get as often as I might have liked, but the few times that I did, I got to chump block and thus ramp, which in this particular deck with Power Stone tokens is very good. Scrapwork Mutt, probably could have used him a little more effectively or more often. Maybe it was just, yeah, didn't draw him enough as much as I wanted to. But yeah, certainly has his moments. I don't think I unearthed him at all, so in that particular aspect, he didn't do terribly well, but he's good even just as a chomp blocker. So yeah, I'd prefer he cost 1 mana in that aspect, but that's alright. For Mine Workers, I maybe should have gone with 3, but I've certainly got Mine Worker enough. I don't know about every game, but it was pretty close. I didn't use him as often as maybe I should as a chump blocker, just because I was playing maybe a bit too much to the Assembly Worker tribal aspect, but I did collectively over my 8 games probably gained 15 life off my Mine Workers, so that's good. Yeah, as I said, maybe I should have gone 3, but it's Assembly Worker Tribal, so it's a good aspect of that. Tower Worker, very happy with how Tower Worker went, because even just as, like if you forget the tap for a colorless mana, for the 1/3 reach, I was able to stop enough creatures effectively attacking me to hold out till the long game. The fact that Tower Worker taps for that mana really helped, and especially that was a game 4, I think, that I got all the Assembly Worker cards out, and it just absolutely steamrolled my opponent in that circumstance. But yeah, I'm definitely going with that card again. Thopter Architect, maybe I couldn't, maybe I shouldn't have drafted that one. I certainly won't go with it again in a less artifact heavy deck, because as a 2/3, something occasionally getting flying is not great. But it did do well in this deck, though once again I probably could have done a little better with it. Yeah, though, as I said before, I won 7 games, so I can't complain too much. Phoretic Blast, I don't think I actually got to play that at all. I'm sure that I would have got a good moment to cast it if it arose, but I just don't think I really got the opportunity to use it. So maybe I shouldn't have drafted it, but yeah, look, I'm clutching at straws there. Stone Retrieval Unit, I'm actually surprised at how well that went. As a 4 mana cost, he's certainly not a game winner, and I can see why a lot of people aren't happy with him. But there were plenty of times that I essentially chump blocked with him, or at least put him on the defensive to stop a creature attacking, or fewer creatures attacking, or something like that. And simply ramping simply helped in this particular deck. I can definitely see why you wouldn't draft him if you're less artifact heavy, but yeah, he did well in this draft. Takesha's Onulet is, I suppose, is a good time to point out the one weakness that this deck had, that it's pretty much nothing else can really contribute too much in combat, I suppose, apart from Stone Retrieval Unit. Before turn 5, and that's if you draw all the right lands. Though I suppose the likes of Tower Worker helped, and Stone Retrieval Unit helped. It's good. It's certainly not a game winner, but it's not bad. I would probably have taken one less, or maybe even two less, if I wasn't going as artifact heavy. But yeah, look, it seemed to have worked. I didn't get to unearth it as often as I might have wanted to, but that's alright. Repair and Recharge, I don't think I got to use that at all. Not so much because it's a bad card or anything, just I didn't really need it, which I suppose is a good thing. Maybe in hindsight I shouldn't have drafted it, but yeah, look, clutching at straws there again. Power Plant Worker, didn't get him as often as I maybe hoped, but once again, 5 mana cost for a 4/4 creature. He is pretty much the first sort of card that can really contribute to the board presence at the time. If I had come across more of them, I probably would have drafted him instead of Takeshi's Onulet, or even Repair and Recharge maybe. But yeah, it certainly worked. And that one time that I did get all my assembly workers together, he all but won by himself, but he had plenty of other cards to work alongside anyway. So it's definitely a good card. We'll try and draft him a little more often anyway, especially with assembly worker tribal aspects. Blitz Automaton is probably the card that I'm most happy with, because for the 3 mana cost, I don't think I got it in the situations that I probably needed it the most, but there were plenty of times that I could attack, even if I knew my opponent could trade in the block or something like that. But I think in this deck I didn't mind keeping pace with my opponent, and there were only I think only once actually that I got to play it for its 7 mana cost. But yeah, 3/2 haste is certainly not a bad card for 3 mana. I'll definitely go with that again, though. If I was going a bit less artifact heavy, I'd probably drop 1 or 2, depending on what other cards I get. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Cityscape Leveler, though, was definitely the one card that, at least in this particular draft, it was pretty much play that card, win game. And I sort of knew that going in, but I drew it slightly more times than I was expecting to. It did very well, and I think it was game 4, 5 that I basically played that, and my opponent's just like, yeah, thanks, that was fun. Game over. Suchi Cave Guard, didn't use it quite as effectively as I maybe hoped. That's certainly not me complaining. But 8 mana for an 8/8 of any color is really good, and the fact that it has vigilance rather, is probably the aspect that I used to the best of my particular ability in this draft. I'm very happy with it. We'll go with it again. Though, were I a little bit less in, say, tower workers, if I had, well, let's say that I hadn't got any tower workers, I probably wouldn't have drafted him, just because there's no way to get that mana as consistently as I ended up doing. Yeah, happy with the basic lands. Battlefield Forge, I think I got to use it a few times. I didn't really need to take the damage as often as I sort of wanted to. So let me rephrase that. I messed that sentence up. I didn't need to get the color from it terribly often. There were a few times, though. It certainly helps. I don't think that I came across any times that it's like I tapped it for red this time, then white the next time. It was sort of, I had white, but I needed red, was sort of the situation. I think that's the original sentence I was going with. It's good. I didn't really need it in hindsight, but I'll definitely draft it again. Evolving Wilds, I'm always a little bit iffy about that, because it definitely lets you get the color you need, but in this particular deck, I rarely actually needed color at all. So maybe I shouldn't have kept it in the deck. Though it does thin your lands down, making it slightly more likely to draw the Takeshi's Onulet or whatever you need. So I'm still happy with it. I'll still draft it. Takeshi's Dig Site, I don't think I used it as effectively as maybe I wanted to. Surveil 1 I got a few times. I got to use a few times, though I don't think they won me the game because of that. Maybe once I got it particularly effectively. Yeah, once again, if I wasn't going so heavy in the artifact aspect, I probably wouldn't have kept it, but yeah, look, it did pretty well. Let's see about the cards I had the option of picking. Lauren's Escape. Don't really think I needed that. There might have been one situation that I would have used it, but maybe it was because I was, from the pretty early aspects of the game, I was starting to put my opponent on the back foot quite quickly. I didn't really need it, so yeah, look, I'm glad I didn't use it. Yocean Medic, I used to draft it a bit more often than I probably needed to, and in this deck at least, I'm glad I didn't keep it because it's very much on the defensive, and I'm trying to get into the late game as soon as possible. I'm trying to ramp as soon as possible with this deck, so Yocean Medic wouldn't have helped. Scrapwork Cohort is probably the only card that maybe I should have kept in, though it's pretty much only the power of hindsight. I would have taken Repair and Recharge out. It's still not my favourite card. Anything for 4 mana that has 1 toughness, I'm just not a huge fan of. But yeah, look, it's maybe even Phoretic Blast. I could have used it instead, but clutching at straws here a little bit. Dredging Claw, I certainly wouldn't have gone black just to equip that. I know you don't actually need black to equip it if you're unearthing, say, Takesha's Onulet, but I certainly wouldn't have kept it just for that aspect. Raise the Ground, it has its moments, but I don't think I would have been able to justify the 3 mana simply to destroy target artifact. There was only, I think it was game 3, I versed an Is It artifact deck. That might have helped, but even then, for 3 mana, it's a bit on the steep side. Sibling Rivalry, I don't mind the gain control of target creature until end of turn. The fact that it creates a tapped Power Stone token, maybe I could have gone, once again with hindsight, one of those instead of Phyric Blast, and maybe even a Stone Retrieval unit. But yeah, I'm a little, I'm not the biggest fan of the gain control for 1 turn. I know that occasionally it really works, but occasionally it doesn't too. Mishra's Juggernaut, yes, sort of because it's 3 toughness, I don't think I would have taken it. Especially seeing when I'm at the stage of 5 mana, I think I would prefer Takesha's Onulet and probably even Power Plant Worker in this particular aspect, because I'm a bit more the late game, and in fact with the power of hindsight, most of the games I was playing, my opponent had 2 or 3 creatures out anyway, so Mishra's Juggernaut having to attack probably wouldn't have been in the best position ever. So I'm glad I didn't go with that, but yeah, it's a bit up in the air. Heavyweight Demolisher, I'm still glad I didn't go with that one. It's a good card, but I've just got better cards in the higher aspect here, so yeah, I'm glad I didn't go with it. I'm sure there could have been one situation that it would have just been the better choice, but yeah, look, I'm pretty happy with how it went. Fog of War for one green card. It has its moments, but it just hopefully gains you another turn. Maybe game 7, I think it was. Fog of War would have done well, but yeah, look, I don't think I could have relied on it. Boulder Branch Golem, yeah, once again, for the 1 green, I don't think I would have gone with him, though even with the 7, just casting him for the 7 and gaining, in this case, 6 life, I don't think he would have helped. Yeah, once again, maybe instead of Phoretic Blast, but that's with hindsight. Queen Kayla, yeah, I'm glad that I didn't go with her, because I don't think there was any times that I really wanted to discard my hand. Maybe I could have played, say, Takesha's Onulet from Graveyard after discarding cards, but yeah, 3 mana for a 2/3 in this deck at least, I don't think would have done it. Goblin Firebomb, maybe I could have used it, but I'm not a huge fan of it anyway, because you pay 7 mana to destroy target permanent. It's got to be a pretty important permanent, and it's got to be at least turn 7, so yeah, it's not my favourite card. Aeronaut's Wings, maybe I could have gone with that instead of Thopter Architect. Maybe. Even then, though, it's ideally it's still turn 2, almost wasted if you get it in the ideal position, or pay 4 mana, give target creature flying. So maybe I'm waving my hand around, but you can't see it. That's all right. Liquid metal coating. Yeah, I definitely didn't need that because pretty much everything's an artifact anyway. Thran Power Suit. In that particular case, the Ward 2 would have been the more important thing of aspect of that. I can't really think of any times that my opponent went destroy target artifact or creature or something like that. And I won most of my games anyway. So in this particular case, maybe I'm happy I didn't grab that one. And supply drop has its moments. I'm sure there's some time I might have been able to use it in that draft, but it's an awful lot of mana to often not do anything. So I'm not a fan of that card. But ultimately, I'm pretty happy with how it went. I played pretty wide early game, and then hit with 8/8 creatures pretty soon. So yeah, I'm happy with how that draft went. I won 7 games, so I got to be a bit happy. I hope you enjoyed watching, and yeah, learn from my mistakes, and yeah, see you next time.